All right, perfect. So thank you for coming today and welcome everyone. I know there's still people filing in. Just some housekeeping things that I know the early attendees have heard 1,000 times already. But number one, this is supposed to be fun and interactive, so please use the question and answer box. Send me questions. I will do my best to answer them as I go. If not, I will spend a significant amount of time at the end, if necessary, to answer any other follow-up questions. At this point, hopefully you can hear me, you can see my screen. I'm not able to troubleshoot any audio or video issues from this point forward. And with that, we will get started. We should be here for about an hour, but sometimes the questions come in and it can get, well, it can go quite a long time. So I'll stick around as long as you all need. So my name is Justin Seitz. I run the team at Dark River Systems who builds Hunchly. I have been working on Hunchly for 6 years now. We're deployed in too many countries to count, have over 7,000 users. So for some of you, you have been on the first webinar and you've been here when there was 2 Hunchly users, and I thank you for that. But now we've got a lot more exciting things going on, and we have other tools that we've built. So today, I'm going to show you to new users a bit of Hunchly Desktop so you get a feel for what Hunchly is all about and how it works. And then I'm also going to show you Hunchly Mobile, and I'm going to show you Hunchly Data Forwarding, which is a kind of an old new thing that we are spending more and more time working with customers on, and I will be teaching people how to use. So what you're looking at right now is Hunchly Desktop. I'm on Windows 10 here in this virtual machine, and Hunchly Desktop is made of 2 kind of core components. The first component is what you're seeing right here. This is the Hunchly dashboard. This is where you manage your cases, you're going to review your materials, build reports. And so all of your work kind of on the stuff that you've collected is going to happen here in the dashboard. The other part of the Hunchly system lives in your browser. And when I say browser, I mean Chromium-based browser. So no Firefox right out of the gate. I'm sorry. I will make like every webinar, I apologize for this. But that does mean that you have Chromium, Chrome, Microsoft Edge, as well as Brave, the privacy-focused browser. There are probably other Chromium-based browsers out there I'm not even aware of, but that's where Hunchly is going to live and work. Now, the core thing with Hunchly is that it's super easy to use and super quick to kind of get up and running with just the core functionality. And at its core, Hunchly is a preservation tool. It's going to take a capture of every page you browse to while you're doing your investigative work, timestamp it, hash it, and store it all on your hard drive so that you can write reports or present evidence. So what we're going to do is the first little bit, if you want to tune out for the rest of this, you really can, because the first little bit is about 2 minutes long on how to train you on how to use Hunchly. What we want to do is we want to start by adding a new case. So every webinar, we must investigate me. It is tradition because there's often a male model with my likeness. No, my name doesn't look like me at all. And it's usually humorous, among other things that pop up. So I've created a new case, Justin Seitz. That's it. That's your whole case setup. You're done. So you can actually just open your browser now. And so here we have the Hunchly Chrome extension. Now, if you only see this little puzzle piece up here in the corner, just click it and then hit this pin. So this pin will actually make sure that Hunchly stays right where he is right there. All right. So by clicking the Chrome extension, we can see that we have a few things here, but there's really not much to it. Click this capture. That's going to disable the automatic capture. That means that when you're browsing around, Hunchly is not capturing every page you browse to. Turn it on, everything you do is going to be captured, okay? And we want to make sure that we're picking the right case. That's it. So there's your case setup. Create a new case, make sure you got the capture turned on, pick the case, that's it. So I'm going to show you how to do evidence capture. And that was it. My apologies, somebody just said that the screen is black. Is anybody else seeing a completely black screen right now? Nope, okay. Sorry, it must be just you. Just wait for, okay, thanks, great. Yes. Okay, good. I was just for a moment, I'm like, oh no. Okay, great. I'm gonna keep going. So as I was saying, the ability to just browse and have it capture for you is amazing. And actually, just by going to google.com, I trained you how to do evidence preservation with Hunchly. So Hunchly in the background, once it detected that I browsed to google.com, triggered a captured the page, timestamped it, stored it on disk. But of course, we need to be able to do some actual Google searches and do some other work. Now, the great thing is again, Hunchly's already captured this page behind the scenes. But when we do our page capture, we're leveraging Google Chrome's internal MHTML capture system. And what it does is it actually preserves all the links, the text, the images, all in one file for us. So if we flip back to the dashboard, we can now see in our history view down here that we have a couple of pages that we've stored. All right. So if I actually click on one of these pages, this is the capture on disk. Now, the window's a bit stretched here because I'm in a VM, so I apologize for that. But what you're seeing here is a page capture on disk. This is not connected to the internet. You can see everything, all the text and links, everything is here. So this is not actually reaching out in any way, shape, or form to the internet. It's not loading external resources. This is all just being loaded from one single self-contained file. Okay, now there's some other pieces of information on this page that we can see by clicking here. And this is going to show us kind of the when did we actually see this stuff, give us the hash, so if we need to present this page as evidence. And when you think about this screen, what we're trying to provide to you is really what you would think you kind of need universally when you're on the stand and somebody's asking you about a piece of online content that you captured, which is, what did you see? Where did you see it? The URL, and when did you see it? So all of these things are done for you automatically. It removes that burden where you have to take screenshots and timestamp them and do all of this. This is just going to run in the background. And the idea is that we stay out of your way as much as possible. Okay, so I don't see a ton of questions so far, or actually I don't see any questions so far, but I will open the floor for a brief moment. If anybody has any questions about how any of that works that I've just done, go ahead. The rest of them are small technical support questions, it look like, or audio video issues. All right, cool. So that is the fundamental core piece that underpins everything you do in Hunchly. It's that ability to just preserve everything. Okay, so now we can talk about some of the investigative tools in Hunchly that are incredibly useful as well when you're doing this work. And the first and my favorite is the selector system. What this allows you to do is enter keywords or terms that describe the subject of your investigation. So for example, we might put in a name like Justin Seitz. So what's happened here is Hunchly's actually searched backwards through the case looking for that term, automatically tagged one page, as we can see down here. I should say automatically associated the selector, not tag. And we can also filter if we want to. So as our case builds, we can only see the pages that had Justin Seitz on them. But the real power in selectors is now that I have this stored, when I go out browsing and doing my investigative work, Hunchly is actually scanning all of the source code of every page and the JavaScript looking for the term Justin Seitz. And every time it encounters it, it's going to increase this count number. It's going to show you that it's available here. And it will allow you to very easily kind of remove that additional burden of scrolling for hours and hours fatigues you. And you can easily miss pieces of information. You might miss an email address, or better yet, sometimes what happens is you'll add something like an email address. So I'll add my email address. And you learn of this email address today, but you've been working on this case for 2 weeks. The cool thing is that when Hunchly searches backwards through your case, it's going to give you those hits and say, hey, you actually encountered this email address a couple of weeks ago. You just didn't notice it, or maybe you didn't have context as to why it was important at that time. So they're extremely powerful. And now everywhere I browse, Hunchly's going to be looking for those terms. Okay? So this is really, really useful. Now, normally I'm going to dovetail off into a big demonstration of selectors, but today we have a lot of stuff to cover. And I already see a bunch of great questions coming in. Yes, again, just to reaffirm to everyone, this is currently being recorded and will be distributed afterwards if you have to drop off early. All right, and a great question. How does it handle scrolling pages? For example, if you're looking at a Facebook page and scrolling, expanding comments, etc. Thank you, Jacques, and good to see you. I haven't spoken to you in a long time either. Scrolling pages like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have turned into a complete nightmare. The reason for that is when you are on one of those pages, and I have to pause for a second here to make sure that I can actually access an account from this machine that will at least let me show you some content here. One sec. Okay. All right, cool. I think this might work. Perfect. Cool. So here's Instagram. This is Amber Mac. So what happens when you're scrolling down a page like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, as you're scrolling down, more and more content gets loaded into the bottom of the page, right? And then Hunchly will trigger another capture automatically. Now, up until about 2020, that was totally fine. It worked like great. You could scroll down Twitter endlessly. You could scroll Facebook and Instagram endlessly, and Hunchly would just pick it all up. But what happened was Instagram, and actually Instagram might have even started this before 2020, come to think of it. But what Instagram started doing is as you scroll down, they actually unload the content up here. And then as you scroll down, they load content into here. So what happens is when Hunchly takes that second capture, this stuff up here all of a sudden looks like it's disappeared. And you get these weird, huge blank spots in your Hunchly captures. And then you just end up with whatever was at the bottom of the page. So there's not actually a lot. Technically, that is the accurate representation of the content on that page. From a technical perspective, that is actually accurate because that's what the page looks like. If you were to grab the page and blow it into a monitor that was 10 feet long, that's what it would look like. But from an investigative standpoint and like an evidentiary standpoint, it's tricky because we kind of want the whole thing so that there's context. Because the other part of the problem is that if you're hiding content or you submit evidence that doesn't include other posts and context, sometimes that can create evidence problems for you. So how do we deal with this? Well, there's a really barbaric but effective solution. In your Hunchly settings, click on this little gear up here. Okay. And now what we can do is set this page capture sensitivity to all changes. Okay, and hit save. Now what this is going to do, fair warning, is now instead of Hunchly just kind of updating that capture as you scroll down, every time there's an update to the page, Hunchly is going to generate a fresh capture. So you're going to see Hunchly go from 3 pages viewed to like a bazillion pages viewed very quickly. But if you have a fast computer and a decent hard drive, it will allow you to have this very comprehensive view that won't run into those problems of the content being unloaded. So it's barbaric, but this is exactly what I do. So when I have to grab stuff from Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, I hit the settings, flip the sensitivity, go do my thing, and then flip it back. Is it annoying? Yes, but it's not nearly as bad as coming back and looking at an Instagram capture and you're like, where the hell are the 20 images that were supposed to be there above it, right? And how can I now try to extract these out of the HTML? So that's kind of the long and short of some of that. Hopefully that at least gives you maybe some ideas on how to address it. We are trying to figure out ways that I can at least maybe teach people how to build bookmarklets, because we really don't want to be in a position where we're like monkeying with things ourselves. But I think there's enough people out there that in some investigative circumstances, they're not building evidence packages, they're writing stories, they're doing research papers. So we're trying to find some balance in terms of how I can just train people how to work around these limitations of the web, really. All right, cool. Does the update require admin privileges to install? Oh, good question. I don't believe it does anymore, but send an email to our support team and they'll be able to help you. All right. Is there a plan to possibly incorporate different colors for selectors in the future? Yes, we want different colors for selectors and tags and all of that fun stuff in the future. We have those, but please, if you're Hunchly users that are on this, send us any ideas you want. We want to know because we always, we're building stuff for you. All right, so another great question on content preservation, and then I'm going to start moving on. And don't worry, your questions will get answered, but I'll stack them up longer towards the end. So if the content appears to disappear, does the CSS, JavaScript, etc. still get saved? So yes and no. Depending on how they unload that content at the top of the page, sometimes I've seen sites at one point just kind of like overlaying this gray square thing instead of totally unloading. But in other instances, I actually see the content completely get removed from the page. So that's I guess the balance there. All right, so one more question about selectors. Adding them one by one is fine. You can do that, but you can also bulk add them. So what I do, we made this so that if you have like a big list of them in Excel or some other format, just paste them in here, and Hunchly will take all of them at once and do all of its matching and all of its fun stuff. And that question also had a question about phone numbers. So the phone number, 8675309. Oh my God, I can't type. Here's the tricky thing with selectors also. They're exact matches. So it will match exactly this, but it will not match if the number was this. So here's what I do. I just use the last 4 digits, and I accept that I'm going to get false positives, because I can go back easily through the dashboard and just go through the pages and be like, oh, it was just, I was looking at a car that was $5,309, right? I can delete that page or whatever. Oh no, I'm calling Jenny for sure, but not the Jenny that's here today. There is a Jenny, oddly enough. All right, cool. Oh no, I just deleted a question. I didn't mean to do that. Chris from Ottawa, if you can repost that would be great. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. So that's selectors. There's also a great thing you can do here, which is tagging content. This allows you to categorize your cases and how you categorize your pages and organize them. So for example, what we would do is create a tag like social media. We could also create a tag. Let's say you're working on a news story about cyber attacks on pipelines, right? So you want to tag pages that, I don't know, are like OSINT related, right? So this is where maybe you're going to tag pages where you've been on URL Scan or Shodan or other things, right? So what this will allow you to do is when you're browsing and you're encountering new information, so we'll go back here, we'll just pick something innocuous. Bellingcat. Bellingcat's innocuous, right? All right, cool. So you can actually see in the Chrome extension right here, there's this little red one. That's telling you there's a selector hit on the page. That's because of this Justin Seitz. So you can also turn on selector highlighting in your settings if you like. But we're here to tag. So I'm going to go into tag. That's on the right-hand side of your Chrome extension. And let's call this OSINT related. That's it. So I've just categorized this. Now I've done that very slowly. But generally speaking, I'm kind of, as I'm moving along, I have those tags in the back of my mind, and I'll be filing content away as I go. And then what's really nice is when I come back into the dashboard is I have a way to kind of examine my own pages, right? So if I want to start asking questions like, okay, just show me all the pages that were OSINT related. And then I only want the ones that were OSINT related and included a selector hit for Justin Seitz or an IP address or something along those lines. So you can kind of mix and match tags and selectors, and later you can actually export based on your tags. So you can say just export all of the things that I tagged with OSINT related, and it will just produce PDFs and HTML files of those pages. So tags are extremely useful, and particularly for those of you in law enforcement here today, this will assist you tremendously when you're doing disclosure. So that you can kind of, instead of having to scroll endlessly through your history, having some tags set up will help you kind of, when it comes to disclosure, you can kind of build little packages, and it does make your life a lot easier. And Hunchly produces a lot of materials, so disclosure can be, disclosure can be a big task, as you all know. All right, so that's tags. I'm going to jump back into some questions here. What about using a mobile version of Facebook? Totally, I recommend that all the time. If you can, use the mobile version of a website, but it doesn't always work. So it's not always going to work. But Facebook also has this very old school interface called mbasic.facebook.com. So if you are on a cell phone with a satellite connection or something, you're like out in the jungle somewhere with no or limited connectivity, limited bandwidth, mbasic.facebook.com is a slimmed down mobile version of Facebook. Now, it doesn't have all the functionality and all of the kind of whiz-bang stuff that the desktop or app version does, but if you need to capture some stuff in a clean way, That's a great technique. All right, cool. What else we got here? What is the highest level court that Hunchly evidence has been accepted? That I actually don't know the answer to that. So if somebody here on this webinar has submitted Hunchly evidence, feel free to reach out to me and tell me at what court level you had successfully submitted that evidence. But I don't know the highest one, to be honest. That's a very good question. Can you recommend any other browser extensions, add-ons that will auto-expand Facebook comments when you capture a page? I actually don't. I don't have any auto-expand recommendations, but certainly people take to Twitter right now and like tweet out something at Hunchly about, you know, what you recommend for browser extensions, auto-expand tools, and then we can retweet it. That would be super helpful. If not, if you don't get any traction, let me know and send me an email. I'll be happy to try to track some down for you. Cool, cool. Cool. All right. All right. I'm just closing some of these questions. How does it deal with frames on pages like the comments on Instagram, which are also dynamic? So with frames, again, if you're using a frame site, you can run into issues. So the Chrome capture engine underneath actually walks through all of the iframes and frames and stuff that's available and does its best to reconstruct the document. But generally speaking, you should be in a position where if, you know, basically the long and the short of it is if you're encountering a site that has obvious frames, just test it. Do capture, check the Hunchly capture, see if there's something up. If you ever run into issues, which we have certainly, what we do is we take those capture issues and we file bug reports for the Chromium developers. They take them into the Chromium development, fix them, push them upstream, and eventually it makes its way back into Chrome. So we do actually report bugs onward to the Chromium development team. All right, Ontario Superior Court of Justice, many times. So that's the most senior court I know now. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Yeah, anybody knows a Superior Court, again, saved my rear a lot of times. Okay, so it sounds like Hunchly is being used in a lot more places. Please, people, tell me where you're filing these things. I would love to know case numbers, case law, anything. It really helps us a lot. Cool. So we'll move on, and we're going to end the Hunchly desktop here shortly, but I want to show you note-taking and some image work, and then we'll move on. Note-taking is really important, well, for obvious reasons, but in those cases where you have weird websites where the capture engine can't seem to do the job, notes are really a great and accepted way to do a capture. So how you can do this, and also, as I'll show you, I use them for my own investigative purposes. So we'll just go back to Bellingcat here. Now, we've discovered something interesting, an author profile, whatever it might be. You can right-click on this page, and there's a Hunchly 2 menu here, and we can say, take note. So Justin's Bellingcat author page, and hit save. So what Hunchly is going to do is take a screenshot of the viewable area in your browser, and it's going to also take a full content capture underneath it. So these two things will always be linked together, and it's going to store that little bit of text that you entered in alongside it, so you have some context. Now, this is really useful, not only for reporting. The Hunchly Report Builder relies on notes as its primary way of bringing content in. We're changing that. We're going to make it a lot better. Oh, lost audio. That's a red flag. Did I lose audio? Anybody? No. Okay, great. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. No, it's good. So Bellingcat, looking at this Bellingcat page, what this is also going to allow me to do is when I come back later and I see this note, I can jump back into the content and review kind of what else I was looking at, anything else that might be important. Personally, like my own little personal sidebar, often what happens is it's usually a volleyball tournament that does it. So I'll go play beach volleyball in a tournament for a weekend, and my brain and my body is destroyed by the end of it, and you're dehydrated. So I'm not the sharpest on a Monday morning, but I'll often just jump straight to this these notes because it kind of gives me a timeline of what I was looking at, what I thought was important, where I was looking at it, and very quickly I can get back up to speed in my investigation. Okay. All right. Awesome. I can assume my video and audio is going to be totally great for the rest of this. Yes. Yeah, so another great question. Justin, is the right-click context menu bug solely affected by the ad selector, or is it affected as notes? So Hunchly customers who have used it, you can also add selectors from your browser. But there's a bug right now that Phil and my team is working on currently, our team, sorry, and they're going to fix this, but no other right-click menus are affected. It's only when you highlight text, and I actually don't know what causes it, but when you highlight text, right-click, and go store text as selector, Hunchly apparently loses his mind. So, and I do say he because it's still Inspector Hunchly, which was a dude, which you can see, but that's changing, so don't worry. I'm not being insensitive. All right, cool. Any other questions? No, it looks good. Awesome. So let's talk about images. Oh, great. I have my first comedian appears to knock me off. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that one. Great. Let's talk about images. So images in Hunchly are handled in kind of a neat way. When you're browsing around, Hunchly is actually extracting every image off of every page you browse to, hashing it, storing it locally separately, but also scanning it for excess metadata. So if any of the photographs that you've encountered or images you've encountered have excess metadata in them, such as this one of my ugly mug, then you can get this little flyout that tells you things like date and time digitized, which might tell you when the photograph was taken. It tells us the make and model was a BlackBerry. I was the last human on Earth with a BlackBerry in 2015. So what this might give you is additional leads or additional information that you wouldn't have otherwise had. But I do want to caution you that this metadata can be messed with. So you want to use it as for leads, but you would have to corroborate anything you find in the metadata, obviously, because somebody could manipulate it to throw you off the trail. All right, cool. And yes, we're at kind of the halfway point here. This will be recorded. Don't worry, a recording will be sent out to those of you who joined late. So I love that about the image part. You can also caption images, so you can right-click on them on a screen in your browser and say caption image, and then that will get separated out here into this view. All right, and now we're about to leave Hunchly Desktop for the first time ever. Okay, so case attachments in Hunchly Desktop are a way for you to bring in external files and also to have Hunchly automatically attach downloads to your case. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to add files manually, and this is both useful for we've had law enforcement guidance and legal guidance. You know, some of these techniques are great for witnesses and victims as well, being able to build evidence packages on the desktop and on mobile. But again, we always caution, please don't do this yourself unless you have guidance from an attorney, you're safe, and you have guidance from an investigating officer. I just want to make sure that people are aware of that. There are definitely risks to installing investigative software on your machine if you're the subject of harassment or stalking. Okay, so I've added this file. Now what can we do with it? Well, the first thing is if you click on it, be aware if you've downloaded a virus and you click OK right here, it's going to run on your machine. Now in this case, it's just me bottle feeding a baby raccoon. Isn't that cute? Name is Smudge, and well, hopefully Smudge is still running around in the wild right now. But of course, this is really useful to me as an investigator because I can add files in, they're hashed, I can annotate them, I can say, all right, you know, this is a cute raccoon. Right? And this is really nice. It kind of gives me the ability of just keeping everything kind of centralized while I'm investigating. Now, the other thing you can do is in your settings, you can go to attach downloads right here, this setting. And if you set this to on, now when I'm out browsing around and I download a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation or anything that my browser is not going to open on its own, the nice thing is those files will automatically, as soon as they land and the download is complete, Hunchly will pick them up, make a copy of them, hash them, bring them into the case for us. And this can be tremendously useful when you're downloading all kinds of different materials, particularly video, which I will talk a little bit more about later. But if you have not seen OSINT Combine's post on download social media videos without tools, well, let me tell you, you have missed an excellent guide. So I'm going to throw it into the chat. If I could only find where the chat window was. There it is. I'm going to send this all entire audience. So go read this post because not only is it useful just in a sense to be able to learn how to download videos, But Chris is teaching you some pretty cool techniques about how to leverage your browser as an investigative tool, how to kind of look underneath the hood of various websites. So go check it out. But that's how a lot of people use our attachments, is for downloading video. Now, if we actually switch to this other screen, how you can also build attachments is through our mobile application. So we'll get you moved over here so you can see my other app screen. Just give it a moment. Ta-da! History being made. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is how you can use Hunchly Mobile to build evidence packages, or to collect, being able to just collect information on mobile. We cannot follow you around in a mobile browser, okay? So we're not able to do web capture. But for me personally, I don't do a ton of mobile research, like actual research, but I will, for example, have to occasionally record a live stream or record an app that doesn't have a desktop application. So I use screen recording. iOS and Android both have native screen recording abilities. So I'll use screen recording and screenshots, or pull images or video files, and then I'll build them into a Hunchly Mobile case. So how this works is I'm going to tap new case, and we're going to go new case title. I'll just call this Justin Mobile. I am terrible at typing on a mobile phone, so you're going to hear some swearing. All right, so I've created a new mobile case, and now I'm ready to add some new content to it. So maybe it's a screenshot, maybe it's a video file. I'm going to tap add new case file, add file. I'm going to pick photo. I've got this screenshot of Google here. I'm going to pick that. So I've added that into my case now. It might be small on your screen, and I apologize for that. Sometimes demoing mobile stuff isn't a lot of fun. And now I can actually tap this add note here button, and I can just say, Google page captured. Maybe put a date, a note, something that's going to be descriptive so I know what it's for. And then I can say save file to case. So what this does is it hashes the file. It basically does everything the desktop version does when handling manually added attachments. So now what I can do is I have a few options. I can tap in the top right-hand corner on the little hamburger menu, and I can say export Justin Mobile. I can delete it, obviously. There's some other options, but I'm going to export this. Okay, and I'm going to airdrop it. Maybe I won't. I just press the accessibility menu. Get out of here. There we go. Now get out of here again. There we go. You guys can literally watch me fight with this thing in real time. All right, accept. Cool. So I'm just airdropping it from this phone onto my MacBook. And then I just tried to click the mobile phone screen on my desktop. That's never going to work. All right. So now I'm going to go back and switch you to the desktop. But you should be back. And if all has gone well, I should have a zip file here that I can bring over. There we go. Cool. So this is straight from my mobile device. And we have a few nice things here. If you actually just open the zip file, and this is where it's really useful for victims and witnesses. This little zip file actually contains an HTML report that your investigating officer can open instead of reading an email that has, often victims and witnesses, they just send an email with 15 attachments, or it's a Word document and things are kind of jumbled around or whatever. And what we're trying to do is provide a way for people, without having to spend a bunch of time and training, to be able to make this a lot easier. So you can imagine, as a frontline police officer, receiving this file, being able to open this and see notes that the victim or witness has entered, to be able to click on them and see what they're talking about, screenshots, text messages, Facebook posts, Facebook messages, all that stuff. And it is far less painful to go through for them. But naturally, from an investigative standpoint, we also have the ability to then bring this mobile case into our desktop. So how we do this is this add case button again, import case. I'm going to actually add it. I'm going to merge it in with my existing case. Justin Seitz. Select zip file. Take you. All right. Import. There we go. And now we can see that it tells you this one was added manually. This one was added to the Hunchly Mobile app. We've got the note that the victim or witness had entered, and we can continue investigating from this point forward. Okay, so I have not put my eyeballs on the question and answer box for some time. I'm going to pop in here now and have a look. Will the audio record as well if we record live streams, for example? I actually don't know the answer to that question. So if somebody does, feel free to tweet it out right now, or I will get you an answer sometime very soon. All right. All right. Lots of I love it. Let me clear some of those out. Oh, here's a great question. So what if you have to log into a website that has a password form? So we can't see your password. For starters, Hunchly's only storing stuff on your machine. So you would only be disclosing a secret to yourself until you disclose that evidence to someone else. Now, the other thing is, too, is that definitely Hunchly can pick up things like user IDs, usernames, other things in the source code of web pages. So if you're logged into an account and that website displays your email address or something, or the email address of an undercover or research account that you have, definitely you could inadvertently be exposing yourself when you disclose that page's evidence. So when you're punching in a password, typically what happens is you hit that password and it gets processed by the server and it's not displayed back on the web page to you. But I have seen people shoot themselves in the foot where they click the eyeball thing so they can see their passwords, and they right click and capture or other things, and that will inadvertently pick your password up. So again, keep in mind it's recording what you're doing browsing. So the idea is you're reviewing these materials before you hand them to somebody else. That's some of the onus is definitely on the user in that case. Are files that get downloaded / attached through Hunchly also data forwarded? They are not, but I want them to be. So that's an awesome question, Marston. Please send us an email with that and say, hey, it'd be great if Hunchly can pass these in as files, and say Justin wants this ticket assigned, and me and you'll start a conversation because I've done some work around this already. All right. Can you tag attachments so they're grouped with your captured content? No, but we're working on much more flexible kind of data organization and tagging capabilities in the dashboard. So look for that. We love the idea, and we love the idea of having color codes and a little bit more organization tools too. So all those ideas, send them to us because we put them in GitHub, we do our thing, and that's how we build it. All right. What else we got? Yeah. Hey, Justin, can the mobile capture multiple photos from iPhoto at once or similar photo container, or do you have to do it one at a time? I believe you got to do it one at a time. So the idea, again, is this is mindful kind of you adding things in. But if users need that, where it's I just want to add 100 photos just for their hashes and timestamps to be able to get them onto my desktop, you know where to email us, Danny. That's great. And good to see you, man. Yeah. All right. Cool. Is there a future plan to have the mobile auto-sync to the desktop case file? Oh, man, we got future plans. We got lots of future plans for data synchronization, collaboration, and all kinds of stuff. So certainly, if there's a workflow in mind, Andy, for you, let us know what that is. And we'll keep that in mind as we design these things out. And people who are on this call know that because some of you here helped us design our report builder, because our customers, we worked with them closely throughout the entire process. And our next release or the release after, major release, will have it. So you'll be able to actually see the fruits of your labor too. So let us know. All right. Okay. Thank you. So just a message from someone who worked with the victim. So thank you. Don't make me cry. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so I can't hear anything. Well, sorry. All right, I think that's good here for now, and then I'm going to move on. People have to leave. I understand. It's pushing, it's pushing 5 o'clock on Eastern Standard Time. No problem. Awesome, and I'll answer one more question, then we're going to talk about data forwarding. Okay, cool. So is it possible to change the location of where Hunchly saves cases to? For example, the internal hard drive to an external hard drive? Absolutely. In fact, we have an awesome knowledge base article on this. And for those of you who have not been to our knowledge base, there is everything here. So in that case, I'll just search for it and we'll say, I think it's just if I search for location, changing Hunchly's data folder right there. So here in our support.hunch.ly, there's instructions on how to do that. And for everyone else who didn't have this specific question, we have everything here. You can literally, if you click the right link, that is, I need a user manual for the user manual. This getting started section is literally a step-by-step guide. You will hear my voice or Phil's walking you through very similar exercises. So you can learn as you go there, everything all the way on to like integrations with Maltego and Hunchly data forwarding, which we're going to cover. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on. Thank you to those who had to leave. Cool, so let's talk about data forwarding. So what the hell is data forwarding? Well, my vision for data forwarding, when I kind of came up with it a few years ago, was I didn't actually need Hunchly at the time to preserve everything locally and then forward the whole works onto a server or do anything with it at that time. But what I saw was the opportunity to be able to kind of enrich intelligence or enrich my research by having Hunchly forward pieces of information like a URL, like the content of the page, to be able to send it to a server that could then handle that data, maybe run some additional queries, maybe go out and fetch Wayback Machine archives for me, maybe be able to present information to Maltego. And so we spent more and more time, as more and more of our users want to be able to collaborate, examining how we can use data forwarding as a way to enable collaboration, but also to build tools to help us where Hunchly can't, which is what I'll show you today. So when we're talking about data forwarding, what we need to be able to do, and again, this may only apply to a very small population of our Hunchly users or to technical Hunchly users, but in the settings panel, I'm going to go down to data forwarding. Now, there's a couple things. The first is we actually have case information fields. This would allow you, so if you saw the tweet thread a couple of days ago where Gisela and I were working together, kind of doing research, and you could see it flowing in real time. Basically what we did there was we created case information fields. So one of the fields was journalist, and one of the fields, I think, was email. And so what this allowed me to do is on my installation, I built, actually my name is, and I'm not a journalist for the record, I should have put that. So I'm just going to put it anyway, I apologize to the real journalists here, and my email, so justin.seitz@gmail.com. So what this is going to do is in Gisela's desktop, she put her information in there. And now when both of our Hunchly data forwarders are sending information to the server, we know who is sending us what. Okay, so the pages that are coming in that have the journalist and email fields, that's going to, oh, thank you, my email address, yeah, mgale, right, let's try that again. There you go. So it's going to send this Gmail address or mgale address to the server. So we know Gisela captured this, Justin captured that, this is when they captured it and what time. So these case information fields are extremely useful for this, and you can build them up in whatever way you want. And now we're going to turn on data forwarding. So what we're going to do is first we need an HTTP address of some kind that's going to accept. So you're just going to blindly start shoveling data at it. So this has got to be a secured endpoint unless you're doing like a collaborative open source project or research project where anybody can access it, because this information is going to be flowing in real time. If you work inside of a company or law enforcement organization, again, in these cases, you can think about how in-house, you could start to build up databases or kind of cross-domain case text indexes that you can start to search. So what I did instead, nothing fancy, all I did was I wrote a little Python app on my desktop. So I'm going to point my virtual machine at that little Python app, 172.16.72.1, I think, and port 5000. So I used Python and a little bit of Flask. So Flask is a basically you can write Python and create a little web server and build websites off of it even. So that's what it's really designed for. All right, so that's all I'm doing is I'm saying every page that Hunchly captures, it's going to forward that information along to my little listener where Python is. And now I'm going to hit enable. Okay, hit save. And now I'm going to test this connection. Cool. So the test connection is just kind of doing a quick GET request, and it just needs a response of OK back. That's it. It's nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. But the cool thing is that what this data forwarder that I wrote in Python actually does is really neat. So you're not going to notice it. Nothing's going to happen otherwise until I start browsing to YouTube. And that's when shit starts to go down. Okay, cool. Cat realizes its owner is pregnant. So I click here. Now, immediately as a Hunchly user, I have a big problem because Hunchly does not extract, oh, look at the baby bump. Hunchly does not extract video. It can't download this for us, right? It's not going to be able to assist us with this piece of the investigation because we can't do that. We could run into legal troubles. So instead, what I built was anytime that we browse to a YouTube URL, my data listener in the background, what it's doing is it's actually already extracted this video in its highest resolution format. It's on my machine already. It has pulled out all the metadata about the video, the author, when it was posted, how many views, stored it in a text file because I didn't want to build a big database. I just want to be able to grep through it. And the other nice thing is it pulled all of the closed captioning text out too. So now I have a text description that I can store in a database, and I can literally do keyword searches for YouTube videos. And I actually didn't have to do anything. I just browsed to it using Hunchly with a little bit of data forwarding behind the scenes. So if we actually switch to here, I'm just going to show you that I'm not totally BSing you. Come on, drag and drop. You're going to make me look bad now. Of course. Hold on. Now virtual machine's like, no, you're not actually dragging and dropping anything in there. They're all going to think you're full of it. Let's try this. Huh. Well, I never. Okay, hold on. This is amazing that literally in this moment is exactly when the drag and drop fails. I just got to punt the VM tools 1 second. I'm going to pause. I love how VMware gave me this like beautiful opportunity for a dramatic reveal and shot me right in the face. All right. Cool. Shared folder is perfect. I just have to copy this file over another way. Big fat liar. Exactly. Thank you, Rick. All right. Here, I'll actually just crack it open on a native window here so I can show it to you. Perfect. Pull it over here. All right, so this is actually, I think, the second video that started. No, the first one. There, so you can see I have it, and the video is named by its hash, so it's already stored. And what I do with all of this is actually I push it all up to Google Cloud. And what this allows me to do is now when any member of my team and I are working, what we're doing is actually building this big video repository. So it's going to include all the keywords from the videos, the closed captioning text. I can search through it. And I'm going to show you what that looks like because Google Cloud is amazing for OSINT. I mean, it is crazy what you can do and build. And with a little bit of Python and Hunchly, you can actually build these incredible dashboards. Limitless, the storage is crazy. Everything, I don't know, I'm a bit of a fan. I don't know if I can getting this across to you all, but I do want to show you this, if I can. Yes, there. So here's a little dashboard built in Google Data Studio. And it's just showing me on the bottom is just telling me like videos posted by date, right? Which is interesting. We've got the description, date and time, the author, channel ID, file sizes, and the actual URL if I want to go watch it. But remember, I have a full copy of the video. So if I want to build another little view into Data Studio that actually allows me to watch the video, great. In a future post, what I'm going to show you, or at least in a future webinar, is I'm going to show you how we can take any video that Hunchly's pulled down like that, extract out the frames, and then we can send it all in for object recognition on the cloud. So we can actually build a database of video that allows us to text search for physical objects contained in the videos, but also for the verbal dialogue, the captioning alongside of them. So you can imagine that I didn't do anything special. I didn't write the PyTube library. I didn't do anything special here. I just took stuff that I know already and just plugged them together. So we're going to spend a lot more time doing this. We are going to start to examine little ways that we can bring training forward that are more specific to data forwarding, to data handling, collaboration, image analysis, cloud work, stuff that is more geared towards collaborative teams, journalists, organizations that can stand up infrastructure inside of an enterprise. But also what we're seeing is like a lot of, for example, in Canada, we're seeing much more movement where journalism is not necessarily, doesn't look like it used to. There's a lot of amazing smaller outlets, you know, that are the Breach and other places, the Canada Land, right? That it's not your big houses. The big houses are still there and they always will be, but journalists and other people need to be able to collaborate back and forth. And they're not always going to have a massive budget and a lot of time or an IT person, right? So we're trying to figure out ways that we can bring this stuff forward to you while maintaining our quality and focusing on delivering what we want for Hunchly at its core and letting you kind of run wild. And I'm going to just do my best to educate people about here's some of the crazy ideas you can do. And it's not, you know, it's not totally outlandish. So that all being said, our last release, you know, we definitely want to make sure that we're bringing forward what you guys want. And the last release was a bunch of stuff that people needed. We had a couple bugs we shipped that didn't make us very happy. All of us as a team. And we're definitely going to keep taking all of your suggestions and keep building it into Hunchly going forward. Ultimately, we are generally a victim and witness focused company, which means that, you know, we look at things from how are people telling their stories, and we try to focus on that end of it. So if there's anything else that we can do, this is our open invitation to everyone. If there's technology we can build, if there's things that we can add to Hunchly, if there's things I can teach you with data forwarding, like if you have some crazy idea, send me an email. You know, we're going to double down on trying to teach people how to do this stuff. So we have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to bring the question and answer box back over, and I desperately need to wet the whistle. 1 second. All right, perfect. I'm going to start from the top. All right, thank you. All right, will the selectors be automatically identified in an imported mobile capture? No, so the imported mobile captures don't get scanned and attachments don't get scanned for selector hits. So no, that in that case it won't. No, they won't. All right. Will you be able to add an attachment and the corresponding description to the report builder? Yes. Actually, my team won't show me the new report builder. So it must be good. I've seen the prototypes. I was along for the ride through all of it, but they're like giggling with glee because they're so happy with how the new report builder is going to look. And just, you know, I designed the original report builder, right? So as you all know, that's not a great idea. So yes, you will be able to do that. Cool. For Mac OS, any additional instructions for deleting previous installations? My apologies. I am not the perfect person to ask the question on deleting old installations, but my support team is great. Feel free to send them an email, support@hunch.ly. Thank you. Cool. All right. Somebody called me big fat liar. Oh, we already covered that. Thanks, Rick. If a video has subtitles, does that get captured too? Yes. So if the subtitles are in the video, meaning then if it's part of the video, that will come down. But the captioning, the actual text captioning, I guess I should show you what the captions look like, because I just see another question. Where are the closed captions? Let me show you. Video data. And let me just open Sublime. It'll be a little nicer for you all to look at. Close all files. The GoToMeeting windows are like persistently in the foreground, and it is so annoying. I don't know how to turn it off. So I have to constantly move it around the screen to get it out of my way. All right, so I'm just going to grab All right. Switch you over to Sublime, which is a great band, by the way, as well. Anybody want to holler at me for some Sublime? All right. So here's the metadata I was talking about. And I'm only like selectively picking off stuff that PyTube exposes. So this isn't all of the fields. These are just the ones that I pick out. And I built this little, like my code kind of built this little JSON document. And then this is the closed captioning. Look at how freaking cool this is. Look at that. Like it's the talking in the video with the timestamps. And PyTube just pulls this all out for you, right? So I don't know the quality. I don't know anything like that. But between keywords and this closed captioning extraction, this is an amazing way for me to full text search through videos with like literally no investment, right? I can just jump just to show you. Like I don't need a database, right? I'll just open up a terminal here. Terminal. Cool. So here's my terminal. And I think I'm in the right folder here. Yeah, so here's my folder of all the little JSON and closed caption documents from every video, including the ones from while we were working on this demo. You'll see the timestamps, the 1446 timestamps. See, that's us. All right. So I can just go like grep minus r minus I cat dot, right? And it's going to give me files back. Literally, you just in your terminal on a Mac, you can just do a quick keyword search through videos with very little investment and time. So it's really neat. And Hunchly's not the thing responsible for doing it, but it's the trigger point, right? And that's the deal is I don't want to download all of YouTube, but definitely if I'm like stopping on a page and watching a video or whatever, you know, with data forwarding turned on, that's great. It's going to happen in the background. It'll pull those videos down. If you want to not have every video captured this way, well, you can change your workflow so that what you can do is you can disable the automatic capture in Hunchly, but you can manually capture pages by right-clicking, right? So the cool thing about that, I'll just show you how that looks. Okay, so if you don't want to do automatic capture, and sometimes when I'm working with some and I have like some really complex data forwarding setups, and I'll just right-click on the pages that I want all of my back-end processing to happen on, right? And once I hit capture, this swarm of Python scripts in Google Cloud starts doing its work and pulls all the details back into a database. But I haven't done that to every single page and domain I've browsed to, right? I'm really selective about when I do it. But for cyber investigations, that's my technique. Turn the automatic capture off, and I'll start roaming around scripts that are touching security trails, Shodan, URL scan, Wayback Machine, Common Crawl. I even have NLP stuff in the cloud, so it's analyzing text if I wanted to. But just from me clicking this capture button, it just does it all for me. And I don't have to think about it because I'll come back and review these things later. But man, even just having something go out and do subdomain discovery automatic on every domain I browse to is awesome. It's awesome. It has saved me, and I love security trails, but it just saved me so much time because I wasn't doing anything but just browsing, right? So anyway, let's get back to some more questions. Hey, look, there's a goose to feed. Dylan, right there. Cool. We have like all sorts of animal lovers. I have chicken. There's probably people who are chicken fans on here right now, or chicken farmers. Also major chicken fans here. All right. Please post a tutorial on how to build this baby. Wow. We'll get there. But I'm happy to help otherwise, so just message me privately. All right. Can you run through how to connect the browser extension to the desktop app? That should happen automatically. When you install Hunchly, the extension should go in. It should connect to the desktop app. If you are currently staring at a big red exclamation mark where Hunchly's supposed to be, send us a support email, support@hunch.ly. If you're a trial user, you get full technical support. So you get support just like anybody else, whether you've paid or not. So use it. We're there to help, totally. Cool. All right. Will this work on social media sites like Twitter or other streaming sites beside YouTube? So this specific example that I give you today, YouTube specific. However, as soon as that data flies by, well, here, do you guys want to see some code? Yeah? Okay, hold on. All right, 1 second. I'll show some code. Let's make sure I'm not going to show anything sensitive here. Nope, no, it doesn't look like it. I didn't write the F word anywhere. Great. Okay, so all that's happening here, let's just switch this over. Cool. So we're looking at the code. This code is actually running. You can see it's running right now. And it was running during this demo. So I was doing testing this morning, then I got really busy, and now here's us sending traffic in from our data forwarder. It's just a Python script, but it's like a web page. It's like a web server, so we can actually browse to this, and it will respond to us. But all I'm doing here, scroll down for you. This is all the code you need to get started. That's it. What this code is saying is when Hunchly sends data to web server, just sending it to the web server, we take the JSON from the Hunchly request, we call it Hunchly page as a variable, and now all of the details about that page are available to us in that JSON right there. So what that allows us to do then is we can see the URL and other things. So what I'll do is I'll trigger Hunchly so that you can see it in code. But first I need to pause and clear one screen, a debug window. Sometimes I type mean messages to myself in my debug window, so I just didn't want you all to see that. All right, so I'm gonna go back here and I'll just set a breakpoint. So what's gonna happen is you won't see me doing this. I'm back over in looking at the goose and the pony, and I'm just gonna browse to back to google.com. And you should see my code get hit. Oh, I have to actually right click and capture. I forgot I turned capture off. So there's the capture, click, move over, get out of the way. Hold on, just sorting windows around. There we go. Cool. So now this little red bar is just telling you that Hunchly sent a message into my code. And the cool thing is that if we look at the fields, I'll say import pprint. I'm actually going to step once, so I have that Hunchly page variable. I'm going to go Hunchly page. And look at all that information. We extracted IP addresses. We have case IDs, photos. So you can actually, we pass up where the photo URL is for every photo on every page. So what you can do is then have like a spider on a server that just goes out and retrieves every single one of those photos, feeds them into like a big EXIF metadata database, for example. We pass the EXIF metadata along. So you can also just pick off any photos that have EXIF metadata can be stored in a central location. Other things include the case information, right? And in this case, we have a bug in the version of Hunchly. Normally, it's going to pass the page content right here. But old man Hunchly, I found that there's a bug there. And in the JavaScript, actually, I shouldn't say that. It was a user who found it first. Normally, we're sending the full content in the JavaScript, but I don't need that, right? I'm just looking at the URL. And as soon as I see youtube.com, well, that's when I do my little dance. That's it, right? So a very simple set of logic that says if you are, let me show you, right? Up here, all I'm checking for is if this is YouTube, let's do our thing, right? Pull down the video, get the highest resolution video, download it, hash it, bunch of other code. Some people's eyes are probably going cross now, but really this was not, and I'm happy to send you all this code if you want it. Like, that's no problem. You can set it up in like 5 minutes. It's really simple. So if anybody wants it, let me know. All right, cool. All right, do you have to remain on the page until the full video is transferred? Nope, because once you hit the URL, the video download, transfer, hashing, all that is outside of Hunchly. Once that trigger is hit, that you hit that URL, it's Python that's doing the work, not Hunchly. Okay? Cool, cool, cool. Investigations performed by multiple investigators in real time using the Hunchly cloud would be awesome. David, you are in luck. You are in luck because Gisela and I already did that one. If you go to my Twitter, jms.py, I actually did a whole tweet stream on how to set this up using nothing but Google Sheets. Cool. Cool. I will have a cocktail on you. Absolutely. I don't drink though. So we'll sort something out. I'm Canadian. Wink, wink, wink. Hi, brand new to Hunchly. I got a gazillion tabs open, unrelated to any given investigation. If I start using Hunchly, will it auto-index the stuff I already have open? Do you recommend using a new Chrome profile for each investigation? So number one, anything that you have open, Hunchly is likely to capture once you turn Hunchly on. Because those pages will signal an update, Hunchly is likely to pick them up. So that's the assumption you should make. But there are cases where it won't. So you'll have to refresh the page or do something to make that happen. The other thing is I only use one Chrome profile. I do all of my investigative work on a virtual machine, and I only use one Chrome profile. So I don't do any kind of crazy profile switching. And Hunchly actually doesn't play nice if you try to run 2 copies of Chrome at the same time with 2 different profiles. Hunchly will start freaking out, and you will run into problems. So stick to one instance of a Chrome-based browser with one profile, and you should be good to go. All right, cool. All right, see you later, Rob. See ya. Is Hunchly planning on sharing the Python integration tools and features? Hell yeah, we are, Brad. We're going to share all this stuff. So we're going to do a better job of training people. Some of it will be paid, but it's way outside of what normal Hunchly is. It's going to be paid training, little short modules that are inexpensive on how to build little tools that augment your research. And I also have a much larger course coming along with the training partner that's coming in the tail end of this year that will be a comprehensive course on from scratch how to build a data forwarding platform over top of Google Cloud with all the crazy stuff that I was talking about before. Okay, so it's coming. Give us some time, but do keep an eye out. We have some courses coming up that are going to be geared more for journalists, more for people who don't have $10,000 to spend on training. They got $20, they got $50. That's the majority of us, right? It's not. It's you know, we intend to release very short to the point modules that are inexpensive and allows people to join a user community. These are our major goals, and it's coming. So stay tuned. Listen, I use Sublime to show off the closed captioning. Taking some flag. Awesome. All right, you are very welcome, Jenny. We are happy to do all of this work. I mean, we love this industry. We love our customers. We really do. And I have been largely offline for a long time the past year, not for lack of enthusiasm, but just very tired. All right. How much disk space does Hunchly tend to take? The answer is a lot. So generally speaking, about 500 pages is going to be a gig. So depending on how aggressively you're browsing, how much data you're collecting, you know, you could easily start to build 10, 20 gigs. We've seen some monster ones before, some monster huge Hunchly installations before. My recommendation is go case by case, export your case, back it up, and then delete it. And you can keep kind of the core Hunchly part running a little bit leaner and meaner. All right, cool. Can we data forward the HTML exports? You can data forward the, well, let me qualify this. You can use data forwarding, much like I did today, to kind of like MacGyver a solution to push HTML files, because we don't push them by default because they're so big. We didn't want to swamp servers. So if that's something you guys need to be taught too, like, hey, can you teach us a workaround so your data forwarding sends the HTML files? Send me an email. Like, I will build as many of these little mini courses or module things as you all want because there's a huge appetite for them. All right, cool. Could I please get a copy of that code? Stay tuned. So please stay on our mailing list. Watch my Twitter. I'm not going to send out individual, but if there's enough people, I mean, it looks like people want the code. I'll just bundle it up. I'll shove it onto GitHub. I'll put a requirements text in so you can install it quickly. And we'll just open source it so you all can do whatever you like with it. Okay? Cool. Thank you very much, Fred. I appreciate the compliment. Hey, Ginger. All right. Is the newer version of Hunchly able to handle multiple browser tabs open at the same time, or is it still recommended to stick to one tab as much as possible? I tend to stick to just a handful of tabs, mainly because like Chrome is a bit of can be pretty memory intensive, and if you got YouTube or something open, a bunch of tabs, just everything slows down, right? So for me, you can use as many tabs as you want, and I've seen like some people with some nicer higher end machines run aggressively with like 20, 30 tabs, no problem. But multiple tabs is not an issue at all. You don't need to constrain yourself to one tab. It's just for me, I find things start to slow down and lag. Okay, hopefully that helps, Monica. All right. Fred is looking forward to these courses. Well, I'm looking forward to Fred taking the courses. Any chance of a dark mode? Does it kind of hurt your eyes to look at Hunchly in light mode? Is that it's a visual kind of thing, like an accessibility issue? Or if there's other people that have accessibility issues with the color scheme in Hunchly, let me know. Those are important issues to us. So if it's one, okay, cool. All right, great, thank you. Okay, perfect. No, awesome. So we will look at doing a dark mode kind of thing, and insert take my money meme here. We are the worst capitalists ever, Chris, as you know that. We don't love money that much, unfortunately. Is Hunchly Python in your automating OSINT courses? So no, Hunchly is not in our automating OSINT courses. Our automating OSINT courses are taught by Cynthia, and she's going to teach you how to be a Python badass. So if you're waiting for us to come along with a big course to teach you how to use Hunchly plus Python to do other stuff, investigative task related, go take Hunchly or go take Cynthia's course. I've been talking for an hour and 15. Go take Cynthia's course. And I'm not saying that it's really, I'm not really, aside from people getting smarter and being better investigators and catching more abusers, I don't derive any net benefit really from telling you to go do that, other than Cynthia is highly skilled. She's an excellent trainer. The stuff you will learn in there is kick-ass. And she knows stuff about Python that I don't, like things like pandas, using data frames. I don't know how to do that, and I have a mental block around it. So take that course. It is awesome, and she loves teaching. And then you can take all that Python knowledge and come back and, build your data forwarding investigative platform of your dreams, or whatever you want. Cool. You're very welcome, Eduardo. See you later. You're welcome, Jason. Good to see you, man. You're welcome, Robert. All right. I do say thank you, and you're welcome to literally every single question and answer, so I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, so someone's asking, so Hunchly, Maltego transforms, once you get Hunchly installed, can you kind of start doing some of this together? Well, yep, when we have Maltego transforms, but I mean, the other cool thing with data forwarding that I'm going to start building is, if I want this little data forwarder, this little app here, let's say I want my Maltego to actually start communicating to it, I'm just going to do this, app.route transform, right? And now, what this is doing is I can actually point my Maltego, so I'm just going to call this transform. I can just build a little Maltego transform that's actually going to talk to my data forwarder, and I can hand Maltego entities back to run further transforms on, right? So you can actually build up your own little Maltego server, so that Maltego will talk to your data forwarder, Hunchly will talk to your data forwarder, and both tools will be able to leverage the same data set. Cool. All right. I use Tab Saver. Awesome. I've actually not used Tab Saver, but Chrome has this cool like tab grouping thing going on now, but it messes with me because it just feels off now. I don't know. Weird. All right. What else do they have? The Great Suspender. What's the Great Suspender? Let me write that one down. Someone said, what if you have the Great Suspender installed? I thought this was like making fun of Hunchly's outfit or something. In Chrome, and some pages are suspended. Would they be captured? I don't know the answer to that, but I really want to look at what the Great Suspender is now. So I've written that down. Thank you. Please send me an email. I'll just put my email here to everybody so you have it. For those of you still hanging out here, feel free to email me anytime. Okay, cool. +1 for dark mode. All right, great. Let me just send a quick message to Phil. Hello, Phil. I am both talking out loud and typing to you on the webinar. People want dark mode. And then I'm just going to say, I wave my hand, make it so. Haha. There you go. Really love a tutorial on setting up the Python tools somewhere else for sensitive cases where we wouldn't want to be Google. Yeah, now you're talking about it. Right. So how do we build data forwarding infrastructure that we can just host in-house? Because people get nervous when they start thinking about sending data off to Google Cloud, right? So that's a great question. And if that's something y'all want to be taught too, let us know, because we have tossed around ideas for, like a Docker container type thing where you can just run it and it's ready for you. It's got a database and a little, data forwarding mechanism and some underlying technology ready for you, so you can store data, that type of thing. And again, data forwarding in an intelligence and cyber investigation is vastly different than data forwarding in a criminal investigation or something for law enforcement, right? So we build a universal tool. Everything I show you does not mean you should apply it universally, right? And I think the big thing is that particularly when you're in law enforcement, like where your data goes and where it lives at rest is extremely important. So make sure you are double checking your policies, IT, security staff, all that before you start playing with data forwarding, because it's really critical in your investigations, obviously. But from an intelligence gathering perspective, for journalists and other people, like, man, it's full bore. Do your thing, right? Like Chris on here has been working and doing my courses, and we've been back and forth for 6 years, and I'm sure he's salivating because at a large organization, being able to build tools that are analyst driven is where we're going to start making a difference. It's not algorithmic stuff. As long as it's originating from a human, in my viewpoint, it's going to be much, much better than someone who decides to code up an algorithm to determine what's good or not, right? So that's why I love data forwarding, because it's the trigger point. It's the point where it can tell you what to get, where to get it, from an investigative standpoint. All right, cool. Brave browser isn't as much of a resource hog. Yeah, you're right. Brave is a little bit better, has its own limitations, but all right, cool. Yes, good night, folks in the Netherlands. Go to bed. That's enough. You're very welcome, friend. Thanks, Ginger. Thanks, Sam. Thank you. You could learn from me all day. Thanks, Mary. I think you attend every single one of my webinars, so I appreciate it. You've been like a huge support for us over the years. You're very welcome, Heather. No problem. Awesome, Emiliano. Thank you. People are just saying thank you and so forth. Michael, yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to stay here as long as you want. See you later, Angie. Yeah, for law enforcement, Google is a no-go. So yeah, in-house. I wouldn't say it's a no-go. I would say that you would have to talk to Google or Microsoft or Amazon's government team, because they do have private clouds. They are encrypted. They can be specifically secure locations for you to use Google infrastructure, but you have to be a government. You have to be a government organization. So that's one thing to remember. Reach out to Google, though. If you're a government organization, they build secure clouds for this reason. So, but in-house is typically where people are going to want to start. Yeah, exactly. So another comment is that law enforcement has strict guidelines for preserving evidence for court presentation. Absolutely. That's the only thing that keeps us up at night in Hunchly Land, is making sure that we're getting it's what it is being stored and presented. Awesome. You're welcome, Lisa. See you later. Oh, yeah. So someone had just asked about the Python course I had recommended. So if you go to register.automatingocent.com, send to all. There you go. That's the link for the training. See you later, Mark. Great seeing you. Thanks, man. See you, Janice. Oh, I deleted a Sia and I didn't look at the name. Wow, I'm sorry. You're welcome. Also, I've been called Jason a number of times. Don't feel bad. Everybody calls me Jason, so I accept Justin or Jason. All right, see you later, Pat. Thanks for coming out. I think that's everybody. I think it's just we are down to the thank yous and all the appreciation and the sent love. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much. Hour and 20, you all hung in there. Please send me questions, training requests, module stuff. Overwhelm me. I want to build as many of these little things as possible because it's super fun for me. And Phil promised me he'll turn my tweet threads into courses. And now he's going to listen to this recording. Little does he know how painful this is going to be. Anyway, thank you so much for being customers and supporters, and we really appreciate it. I'm going to be doing more of these more frequently. My next one is going to be more of a deep dive on Hunchly Desktop for our users and more of a training kind of thing. So that'll be in a week or a week and a half. So anyway, enjoy your weekend. See you all later, and I'm going to go melt in the heat. Bye-bye.